Hello, everybody. I'm going to report the case study I carried out. I decided to work with two students from one of our social projects called College Horizons. I'm going to call them student A and student B. Student A, which the student who has the higher English level, and student B, the student who has been struggling a lot. He has actually failed a couple of courses, and his production has not improved. I carried this case study using four different techniques. Well, not really techniques, but I used four different ways of collecting information. First was observations. I observed the class 3 times during 3 weeks, so it was one observation per week. Then I interviewed student. I had a couple of questions about their background, about their families, about how they think they learned, or what learning strategies they used to practice at home. Then I had access to the reports teachers sent at the end of each course about each student, so I could read what teachers said about their motivation, their responsibility, their participation, and a general comment about their production in the course. And then I have two evidences. One, it's an audio. It was a radio show they had to record in class and then present it in class to get feedback from their classmates. And the second one is a short story. They were working on animals description, so the teacher asked them to write about an animal. With these two production, one was an oral and one was a written production. Basically, I found the same. In terms of language, student A is able to use complete sentences. He's able to articulate verb tenses better. He's able to describe. He's able to complete the task given without a lot of support. He doesn't need a lot of help. Actually, I had the opportunity to talk to the teacher, and she said that he wanted to work alone in the written production. And student B, he did a good job in the audio, comparing it to previous activities or previous exercises assigned. But we can see that he was reading, so that's why probably he was a little bit more fluent than he is in class. And there are still pauses. He needs to work on his pronunciation. He needs to work on his fluency and intonation. While that's one of the strengths of student A. In the writing part, in the written part, in the writing exercise, student A worked by himself. There are a couple of mistakes in terms of the use of third person, which he forgot, but it's something that is just a mistake. He's able to use punctuation marks. He's able to use concise, like short sentences, but complete sentences. And student B worked with another classmate. Actually, is one of the average classmates he normally works with. And there were some problems with repeated words, some problems with punctuation. They didn't use punctuation. It was kind of complete test, but it was very difficult to read. When I observed the classes, I could see that students' A speech is well structured. He's able to use concepts studied in class, not only referring to content or themes, but also to language notions. He participates a lot. He always raises his hand. He gives additional information. He answers the teacher's questions, but he always gives a little bit more. He always does it in English. Sometimes he talked to his classmates in English, not all the time, but he tried it. Student B, he doesn't participate much. He's very quiet. He's very shy. He only participates when the teacher asks him to do so. The only time he participated he took the initiative was in the second class I observed, but I felt, and this was my perception, that he knew the teacher was going to ask him, so he just decided to participate and like before the teacher asked me, so I'm going to raise my hand. That's what I felt. Then when I compared students' oral production and written production, probably there are not huge differences in terms of production. First, because the writing exercise was done in class, they had the teachers support, and they knew, because I asked the teacher to keep the papers for me, they heard me, that I was going to check it. So they tried to do their best. In the radio, it was something that they prepared, it was something that they recorded, and they had time to do it twice, 3 times. So it was not something improvised, right? So probably the differences between those 2 activities are not huge. However, I think that the main differences are were relevant, were present in the observation. Student A interacts a lot in class. He always tries to let others know that he's there, that he's trying to practice, that he's trying to learn. While student B tries to hide, like his body language also says that he always sits next to someone that participates a lot and he's kind of hidden there. It was very curious how they, like the physical space they use in class, not only in terms of where they sit or next to who they do it, but also like how they project themselves, right? While student A sits in front of the teacher, student B tries to hide. So, and it's also a matter of their personality. Student A is very extrovert, very talkative, while student B is shy, it's quiet, and probably that's what like it's reflected in the production, right? Okay, after all this very important information I just mentioned, I would like to conclude, and I would like to say that student A uses the classroom context more efficiently. He's aware of what language is for, and he sees language as a learning tool. He said that in our interview. He said that at the beginning he saw language as something that is extremely important for his future, but then he understood the language was a tool or a way of learning something for his future. While student B sees language as a way out and its lack of proper learning strategies, and probably something that has a very important and relevant impact on these 2 students' production and process is their background and their how supporters the families are. For example, student A studies at a public school, in an urban public school. He has all his parents support. Both of them studied bachelor. They are actually teachers at a public school, and they have been coordinators, academic coordinators of different schools. While student B studies in a rural school. His parents didn't finish high school, and he says that when he needs support, he tries to ask one of his sisters who's studying psychology, but then sometimes he just tries to answer all his questions and probably tries to look for information online. Student A has very clear learning strategies, and they are based on production. He tries to talk to himself, he tries to regulate his speech, he tries to self-correct what he says, while student B focuses more on grammar and vocabulary. He doesn't focus on production. He wants to memorize words, and he watches video of people explaining how verb tenses work, but he doesn't implement activities where he has to produce. So basically there are 2 of the main differences: learning strategies and educational and family background, because I think that those are the 2 main elements that have an impact or that interfere or support positively or has a negative impact on this student performance. Thank you very much.